God has the ultimate choice to place anyone where he or she can make impact, but the choice to fulfill the purpose is ours. Bearing in mind that our success in fulfilling purpose will positively affect the lives of people attached to our destiny. The book of Esther describes the purpose of a woman being fulfilled, which prevented an entire ethnic group from being wiped off from the surface of the earth. Let's look at the story. King Xerxes, also known as Ahasuerus, who ruled in 127 provinces from India to Ethiopia, had a feast in his palace which lasted for 6 months, where there was enough to eat and drink, and he also showcased the opulent wealth of his empire. After that event, he went on to give a special banquet for all his palace servants and officials, which lasted for 7 days. His wife, Queen Vashti, also gave a banquet at the same time for the women at the palace, probably to show her honor for the job of the women. Who knows? During this feast on the 7th day, the king was half drunk with wine. Esther chapter 1 verse 11 tells us that he requested from his eunuchs, it says, to bring Queen Vashti to him with the royal crown on her head. He wanted all the men to gaze on her beauty, for she was a very beautiful woman. As expected, the queen should be delighted for such a request, but that was the opposite. Queen Vashti disobeyed the king's request, which made the king furious. He consulted 7 of his advisors who were familiar with the laws of the land. One of the advisors gave the king a suggestion on what to do. Esther chapter 1 verse 19 describes his suggestion. It says, "So if it please the king, we suggest that you issue a written decree, a law of the Persians and Medes that cannot be revoked. It should order that Queen Vashti be forever banished from your presence, and that you choose another queen more worthy than she." Now, familiarity and disobedience has cost more than good in relationships, friendships, and in all ramification of life. The queen may have thought she could easily disobey the king because they were married, forgetting that the palace and its inhabitants are guided by the laws of the land. Friends, do not take familiarity as a right to disobey anyone. Familiarity is the key to losing great potentials of future help. That's a lesson to learn and to keep in mind. The king, of course, carried out this suggestion, and Queen Vashti was banished out of the palace. Therefore, the king was without a queen. After a time, the king was given a suggestion to look out for a woman who will replace Queen Vashti, which he did. There was an auditioning for the women who aspired to be the queen of the land. Among the women who were to be monitored and auditioned for the position of the queen was Esther, the cousin of a man named Mordecai, who adopted her into his family because she was an orphan. Both were Jews, but Esther hid her nationality and family background from the king's officials. Her cousin Mordecai went around the courtyard to check up on her daily. Esther chapter 2 and verse 12 describes the requirement of every woman before going to meet the king. It says, before a girl's turn came to go in to King Xerxes, she had to complete 12 months of beauty treatments prescribed for the women, 6 months with oil of myrrh and 6 with perfumes and cosmetics. The preparation of the position of the queen was a hectic one. In life, nothing good can come without adequate preparation. You can't take a shortcut and expect to be treated like someone who followed the right route to success. Preparation is necessary, no matter how long or how tedious. Follow the process. Moving on, the time came when Esther was to go before the king. She was well dressed and beautiful to behold. The reaction of the king at the sight of Esther is described in Esther chapter 2 verse 17. It says, the king loved her more than any of the other young women. He was delighted with her that he set the crown on her head and declared her queen instead of Vashti. What an instant favor right there. Esther became the wife of the king and the queen of the land. After being made the queen, Esther still obeyed the instruction of her uncle not to disclose her nationality and family background. What a good quality, obedience. Despite being a superior in the land, she still had respect for her uncle Mordecai. She never allowed the position of the queen get to her head. She didn't despise the advice that had brought her that far. I've noticed that most times in life we turn back and disrespect the hand that once held us up. This is to our detriment. Friends, don't despise the advice that lifted you in any ramification of your life, because you will need more advice to remain at the top. The first blessing of having Esther as the queen was the information that disclosed the plan to assassinate the king, which was discovered by Mordecai, and that plan was destroyed. The king at a point promoted a man called Haman, who was now the prime minister and the most powerful official in the empire of Susa. Now, Mordecai refused to bow down or show respect to Haman for reasons best known to him. Haman got furious with that attitude, and knowing that Mordecai was a Jew, he took a decision which is described in Esther chapter 3 verse 6. It says, "So he decided it was not enough to lay hands on Mordecai alone. Since he was a Jew, he decided to destroy all the Jews throughout the entire empire of Xerxes." What a wicked man with a wicked plan. Haman did not stop at that. He went on to seek the consent of the king, which was approved. The decree set confusion and mourning among the Jews in the land, including Mordecai. Imagine the plan of a man because he has power. Throughout the ages, it is noticed that excess power and the love of power has ruined men. They misuse power and destroy their fellow humans at will. Moving on. The news was communicated to Queen Esther, and she was told to plead with the king on behalf of the Jews. There was a decree in the palace that death befalls anyone that appears uninvited before the king unless the gold scepter is held out. Queen Esther gave a reason for her inability to meet the king, but Mordecai warned her, as seen in Esther chapter 4 verses 14. It says, "Don't keep quiet at a time as this. Deliverance for the Jews will arise from some other place, but you and your relatives will die. What's more, who can say but that you have been elevated to the palace for just such a time as this?" Friends, there is such a thing as a time as this. Yes, Esther was made the queen for the purpose of delivering the Jews from the plot of Haman. Friends, have you discovered your purpose in your family? Have you discovered your purpose at your workplace? Everyone, everywhere has a purpose at every given time. Long story cut short, the Jews went on a fast, including Queen Esther and her servants. At the end of the 3-day fast, Esther dressed in royal robes and went up to meet the king. The king, having seen his queen, stretched forth the gold scepter and asked for her request. Esther requested that the king and Haman honor the banquet she prepared, which they did. Behind the scene, Haman obeyed the advice of his wife to dig gallows to hang Mordecai. At the end of the banquet, the king asked for the request of his queen again. This time she opened up and told the king the plan of Haman to annihilate the Jews. This displeased the king. He decided to punish Haman. The gallows prepared for Mordecai was used to hang Haman. His position as the prime minister was given to Mordecai. At the long run, the Jews and the land were safe, and they destroyed those who planned to annihilate them. Mordecai was honored. The Jews were delivered. Hallelujah. God used Queen Esther to save the Jews. The greatest joy of God is when you fulfill purpose on earth. Have you thrown away the scroll of your mandate on earth? Pick it up and work by it, because it will save a life. Beloved, there are times God promotes you not for your advantage, but to save or impact a person or people. You might be in an influential position or a position to help someone. God did not allow you get there to flaunt your dress or the wealth that comes with it. No, God placed you there to use your position and influence to glorify His name, even in the life of others and everyone around you. That's the essence of living. I wrap this up by saying, consciously use your position, wealth, and influence for positive impact on people, and God will help you. God bless you. If this video has blessed you, please like, subscribe, and share with someone.